Hey everyone, I'm gonna make this as quick as possible. Um, for anybody that was wondering when 256 was coming out, well, 256 did come out. Unfortunately, it only came out in digital format for right now. In other words, if you got the Archie Comics app, or if you got the Sonic the Hedgehog Archie Comics app on your iPod, iPad, Android, tablet, whatever, that's the only way you can get it for $2.99. Or if you get it on your, or if you buy it off your buy it and screen it on your computer, that's the only way you can get it. Now, as far as the issue goes itself, from what I have seen, from what I saw, it seems like a pretty good issue. Basically, we start out right smack dab in the middle of Mobotropolis, and everybody's in a panic because of the earthquakes, and of course, Metal Sonic is attacking. Well, Metal Sonic was following Sally. So anyway, both Amy Rose, and Cream the Rabbit show up at exactly the same time Sally crash lands the escape pod that she took from the Death Egg, while trying to avoid Metal Sonic. Now, Metal Sonic does show up, and Sally tries to get out of the pod before Metal Sonic can get to her. And what's surprising, and this is what I think some people may not like, and they may be okay with, is Sally does have her blades. She does. She does have her blades, but get this. Get this. You remember those images that Trunks 24 Lamar Wells pointed out? Yeah. Her blades look exactly like he drew them. Except here's the deal. You know those little blue rings around her gloves? That's where they come out of. Which means she's not a robot, guys. No matter how much you wanted to think that, she's not a robot. Basically, what my theory is, and we'll probably learn more later on, is just like with Bunny and maybe some of the other characters, Sally had these gloves built, or had these little blue rings built to help her in battle. Maybe they were built by Uncle Chuck, maybe Rotor, and maybe even Tails. We'll find out later on. So anyway, they're confronting Metal Sonic. Both of them are battling Metal Sonic. Both of them bring out the main weaponry. Sally with her blades. I guess you could say glass plate blades, if you will. Energy blades, if you will. Her energy blades. And Amy brings out her hammer. And Cream assists them a little bit by trying to get them out of harm's way. And they're basically battling Metal Sonic and holding their own. They're doing a pretty good job. And while they're doing this, they're trying to get, basically, and the reason they're doing this, the reason they're holding their own against Metal Sonic, is they're trying to prevent him from harming any of the citizens in Mobotropolis. So basically, they're fighting Metal Sonic, and they're basically, it looks like he's getting the best of them, and all. And just when it looks like they may have to retreat themselves, or it looks like he's getting the best of them, basically. Mainly, what happens as soon as because like I said, they're holding their own and everything, and just as it looks like, I'm trying to get this out straight. Just as it looks like Metal Sonic's going to get the upper hand and he's going to get the best of them, Sonic arrives thanks to the tornado, and basically fights Metal Sonic, or basically gets Metal Sonic away from from Array, gets Metal Sonic away from the city, which allows Sally and Amy and the Secret Service, who have some new looks as well and some new members, to evacuate the citizens out of the city. So basically, Sonic has a little bit of a brief battle with Metal Sonic and disposes of him. And goes back to Mobotropolis and reunites with Sally, grips her in a tight hug with a little tear coming out of his eyes, and said he's glad to see her and he's happy. He's basically overjoyed and happy to see her again. And Amy's kind of like, what about me? And he's like, oh yeah, glad to see you too, Amy. Nice to see you're safe and home. And he starts rambling on about the Genesis wave and about Sally not being a robot. And of course the girls are like, okay, what are you talking about, Sonic? What are you smoking? We don't get what. Are you alright upstairs? You know what's going on. So basically, after everything is settled down and a little bit, and Sally's reunited with her father, they meet back up on the Sky Patrol with everybody else, and Sonic goes into an explanation of what's going on and how Nicole seems to be the one that gained all the access energy from the Genesis waves. Basically, Sonic goes on to explain to Amy, because he said, okay, Amy, you may not remember, and also Sally, but basically goes on to explain that what happened was Eggman tried to rewrite reality. He basically explains the whole situation that occurred during the crossover that basically began the crossover and concluded it. So he explains that situation and goes on to ask Nicole, okay, Nicole, is there a way that maybe we can get both of their memories restored, or is there a way we can do that, and perhaps that will help you even more? And Nicole's like, yeah, we could try it and everything. We could chance it and see what happens, because basically she goes on to basically explain that the more she gets, the more energy, more the Genesis wave energy that she releases, the more memories that she restores to everybody, the better chance she'll have to kind of decipher what's really going on. So after everybody kind of tries to kind of like warn them and say, you really want to do this, because if you do this, what you're going to probably see and probably get back may not be the best, may not be the best memories that you'll have. And of course, Amy and Sally like, look, if it's going to help Nicole, if it's going to help save the world, we're going to do this because we're freedom fighters. So both kind of do a fist pump, kind of like a sister pump, if you will, a sister fist, if you will, and both at the same time grab a hold of Nicole, and both get their memories restored. Sally, of course, as a lot of people predicted, gets a little emotional, overcome at what she had seen and what she had done. She mentioned she tried to start a war. Was fighting, almost murdered, and I think she was going to mention Eliza's there. And she basically says she kind of like it kind of really what they had warned her about had happened. Basically, everything, the emotions were setting in at the memories that she had, and she goes on to say, "But you stopped me, and thank you, and I'm so sorry, and so sorry." And there's another panel at the bottom. This is where she says, "So sorry." And Bunny, who's her best friend, is cradling her in her arms like it's okay. And basically she says, and Bunny basically says exactly what some people felt was going to be said by one of the characters, that it's like, okay, it's like, and this is true. She says, it's okay, it wasn't your fault. You weren't you. You were not, that wasn't you. It's not your fault. It's okay. So anyway, we kind of get like a transitional back and forth between Sky Patrol and Death Egg, and both Nicole basically telling Sonic and Rotor, hey, launch the Sky Patrol now, and they launch, wondering what the hurry is, and Nicole finally is able to materialize herself to a physical body thanks to a power ring that Rhoda puts onto her console, and basically her and Eggman at the same time, and this is kind of like a transition, two-sided panels kind of deal on a page. Well, basically both of them in their own way explain the situation, and that because of what happened, because of Eggman being hasty in doing what he did, and because of all the energies from the Genesis wave, all the energies from all these other worlds, all these other realities, have all basically centered on, have basically all focused on this main world, on the Mobius Prime world. And that because of all these access energies from all these different realities forging into the Mobius Prime world, that the world itself, because of the restructure of the world, restructure of the timeline, even as Eggman put it, restructure of the molecules, if you will, even with the restructuring molecules, if you will. Eggman goes on to basically both go on to explain that, hey, there is no way to fix it. It's too late. Because, Sonic and Tails are like, well, wait a minute. We've saved the world before. How can we stop it? And then you have Orbot and Kubot going like, well, how can we fix it? And basically simultaneously, Eggman and Nicole, like in both in the different bases, you can't stop it. You can't fix it. It's already too late. And then we get this big 2-page spread. I guess it's going to be a 2-page spread of the Freedom Fighters, Big and Cream, all looking on in horror as we finally see the world starting to split apart and break apart. So overall, I thought it was a decent conclusion to 256. I have more of an analysis, more of a thought process when I do my opinions later on, and probably when I physically get the issue in the mail. But overall, very decent and very decent conclusion and lead in to the arc that's going to help probably put the world back together. And I do recommend that if you haven't gotten it yet, if you have the money, go on to Archie.com or iTunes and download it for $2.99. It is worth reading, and to me, it's a decent conclusion. So, but that's just my review on it, and yeah, it's got the artwork is pretty good. There was a lot of things that people called, like Sally being forgiven, even if it was by Bunny. Sally's blades, energy blades, being being her main weapon, if you will, but coming out of her blue wrist rings, if you will. So, and furthermore, she's not a robot, guys. Don't think that. So, overall, decent issue, decent conclusion to Countdown to Chaos. And definitely I guess in a sense, a good starting point to the retcon of the book, and basically now we see where it's going to go. I mean, I know some people complain about the fact that it was rushed, that, because of what happened behind the scenes, the whole Mecha Sally arc was concluded too fast and should have had more time. But you know what? You got to deal with the cards that are dealt sometimes, and whether we like it or not, and I'm sure Ian Flynn didn't like it, you got to deal with them. So, overall, decent arc and a decent conclusion. And I will have more analysis, more of a thought process when I physically have the issue in my hand. So until then, God bless, take care, comments are welcome.